Alright, welcome back. Sorry it's been so long. I tried to record this a few times, but it kept crashing when I finished recording, and it would lose the video, so I couldn't do anything. Um, Hopefully this works. And I've been having school, so I can't do this all the time. Okay, first we need to make sure you need to make sure all your ground have box colliders 2D, or else you won't be able to have collision, and make sure they're checked is trigger. Same with your obstacle objects. Make sure they have on the pipes, Make sure they have box collider 2Ds and is trigger selected for all of them, each individual. That will be used for collision. I think that's all we needed to go over for this. Let's move on to scripting. Okay, so I'm not sure if this would probably be intermediate level scripting. Some of this stuff isn't used right now. It's just in here for future coding. So we'll start with our variables. We have public rigid body 2D player, which is who you are, and it's rigid body 2D because we're using physics for this. Vector 3 rotate. This is used for the rotation calculation. This is also used for the vector calculation. The rotation calculation. Velo. Public float jump height. This is how high you will hop when you click. You can change it depending on however you want your game to be. These are a bit different than I'm newer to these. Most people probably won't know them unless you're past the beginner phase. These are state machines. What they do is only you make a switch like these, and then while you're in menu idle, only menu idle script will play, and while you're in playing, only playing script will play. So you won't have to worry about these hogging your memory or interfering in any way. So these are the states you will be in as the player. You will be in menu idle, playing, hit obstacle, hit ground, and ground idle. We have one for the menu, which isn't really being used yet. We have main menu, in-game, and in-screen. We have, we're defining the states. This is how you change the states. You have this thing right here, which is like a variable that holds the state you're in, and you change through code like this right here. You say player state equals player state dot menu idle. Make sure these two are different. If you don't, you'll get an error, and because they'll be the same thing and they'll be conflicting in the code. These are screen variables. I guess I can go over them. These are just used to hold the game objects that we're going to be using for the GUI. I'm not using the built-in GUI because it's a memory hog. So we have the main screen, in-game screen, end-game screen, and a top and an end-game screen bottom. They're separate, so you can animate the top part, which holds your score, and your middle. You can animate that going down and the bottom going up, like you do in the original Flappy game. Okay, in the start menu, we define, we say what we want each state to start in. Want the player to start in menu idle. Want the menu to start in the main menu, which this, as I said, doesn't do anything yet. It just sets the state. Okay, menu state doesn't do anything yet. Okay, so you can copy this down, and I'm not going to do a full tutorial on switches because they're more complicated than it would take multiple videos to go over them, and I'm just doing this Flappy thing. If you want, there's a good tutorial. I don't remember who it was by, but that's how I learned. Just go look it up on YouTube and see how they work yourself. Okay, in the player state, we want to put in the menu idle. We want to put in player rotation and menu player. These are functions that we define down here, and we'll get to those in a minute. Yeah, so player rotation, menu player, and then in the playing, we want menu state equals menu state dot end game, and then we also want player rotation function, that is. Okay, on mouse down, this is what causes you to hop up and down. Okay, so we have two things here. We have one that checks if you're in the playing state and one that checks if you're in the menu idle. So the reason I did this was for when you're in the menu idle, I didn't make you kind of bob up and down like in the original game. I made you do this. Okay, so I'm not pressing anything. It's doing this by itself. So it does that. It made more sense to me. I don't know. And then when you play, it plays like the game. Okay. So it checks when you're in menu idle and plays the script for hopping or moving in the game, which and it changes your state to playing. So then it would play this one. As you click down, it runs this, and it will, if this is true, it will run this code. So it will change to playing, rotate you're up, like when you hop, it moves you up a little bit, angled up, and it would. This is what pushes you up. This is your velocity thing. You move up a bit. And the same thing happens for if you're in the playing mode, except it doesn't change your state. And we also have, it checks for if you're playing and below 6.3 on the y-axis. So this means you can't click off the screen. Like if you're off the screen, you can't hop higher than the screen. We don't need to go over these. We can go over those next time, or it's pretty clear here. It just sets for like see here. You see this start screen function. It sets the main screen, which is the main menu, to true, and the rest to false. And the same for in-game screen. It sets the one you're not using to false, and the one you're using to true. Okay, and the same for in-screen function. It sets the two top and bottom to true and the others to false. So what that does is it just disables the ones it's not using, so they don't run code and they don't appear on screen. Okay, menu player. What this does is it okay. This is what makes you hop up and down. So if you go below 1 on the y-axis, it runs the hopping code. Okay, yeah. So this is what runs the hopping code if you're on the main screen. This right here changes you to playing as you click. So I had those mixed up a bit. It does the same thing, but this is what happens when you are not doing anything. So yeah, if you're below 1, it makes you hop. So when the player falls below a certain distance, it hops, so it stays in that one area. Player rotation, I can't really explain this one, but you can copy it down and go try to learn yourself. It's hard to explain how this works. This is what is making you rotate as you fall down. So as you fall down, your player rotates more towards the ground. So I'll scroll up a bit so you can pause and play and type in the code. And make sure you have all these in here. Player rotation, so that makes you rotate down while you're in the menu. Menu player makes you hop up and down while you're in the main menu. That just changes the menu state, and this also makes you rotate as you're falling. Alright, I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.